Hello. We decided to do, well, we as in the people in my. Anyways, I got help from people who were volunteering before, as I posted before. Some people volunteered for reading, and which was super fun. And this time we kind of just wanted to try progressions and transits, see how it goes. And then, yeah, this one's also like a long one, so it's going to be in parts. So today will be the one that you see. The first one will be part one. So stay tuned for part two, part three, I believe. It's going to be divided into three, I think, maybe four. I don't know. Just enjoy the video. Oh, okay. So that made a difference. Okay. So as we already know, like we'll go with basic triad, the ascendant, sun, moon. So as we already know, your ascendant is in Taurus. So that's why you're like fiddling with your hair and like you're going, oh, I gotta look this way and that way. So
Presentable. It's presentable.
yeah,
Yep.
presentable. That's right. So with that in Taurus, that means Venus is the ruler of your chart. It's what you call the chart ruler, and it's um, conjunct Vesta. So you're very committed to that approach to how you look, how you want to present yourself to the world, how you package yourself to the world. Let's see, uh, 18 degrees Saturn. Nope, it's not even conjunct to that ascendant. However, um, and then we talked about last time how you know growing up with your family, like how you not just necessarily family, but growing up, you've had to appear in a certain way because with the way you with how relationships were specifically growing up, namely yes, family first is was very like powered control. There's a lot of control, power struggles, possibly a bit of narcissism here and there. I don't know. There's those kind of things, conflicts with power, conflicts. But so you definitely had this sort of there's just a lot of questioning of like what's my purpose? Where am I going? What am I doing with this? Why is it that so because there was a commitment to beauty and how you should look and how you should appear, so relationships came off very manipulation was there too, for sure. Um, I don't know. If you disagree at any time, of course, let me know.
You want me I grew up with an older sister who was later diagnosed with a dissociative disorder, bipolar, manic depressed. She had a lot of issues, and we didn't know that growing up. So there was that. You kind of were working around how she was operating for the day.
Okay,
She was
okay.
12 years older. She was oftentimes a guardian.
Okay, that makes sense. I do see here Jupiter was conjunct to that as well, so your Venus. So there could have been a growing sort of oh, call this. It's like the way I put it is the growing commitment to relating in a very Scorpio seventh house way. But because it's on its own, even like when you look at Jupiter here, it was opposition to Saturn. So there's a lot of limitations with progress, a lot of limitations with um, expansion and growing and growth in relationships in general. But because Saturn is also in retrograde, it was more of an internalized thing you did for yourself, figuring out what's uh, where your how do you learn from that karma, basically, because it's also the fears that you probably experienced as a child, especially at a younger age, right?
You're
And
saying that I'm going through karmic learning experiences.
when you were young, the first like from the day you were born to this time you started identifying with yourself, that's the first house. So you're also questioning your body and how that relates to your image, your body, your health in overall health in general, and how you could balance that with uh, being having better relationships and having this sort of connectedness in relationship, this sort of like feeling lucky, sort of. There was a Saturn Jupiter opposition there, so you had to learn how to kind of balance that for yourself. It was an inner work that you had to go through because it's Saturn retrograde, definitely. So it was, yeah, it's an internalized process. Internalized,
For that
yeah,
I went through when I was
yeah,
younger. I did.
yeah, that's right. So a little more accurate this time, I suppose. I hope. With Juno there, with Juno in retrograde, it was about similar to Vesta. There's a commitment, but it's more about like it was like your marriage to yourself. Like with Juno and Jupiter, Juno and Saturn there, it was about more about um, mm, the long-term process itself. Like Juno, like we explained before, Juno was the wife of Jupiter, or she was Hera, so she was always like. So there's this there's this desire to like latch on and commit to that. So you had the long term, I would say not long term, you had to experience this for quite a long time, especially with Saturn there, right? That questioning of your purpose, especially like with image and how you look and how you able to, yeah, present yourself, possibly like how you earn value for yourself and what people thought of you and what people thought of you, right? So it, yeah. It was more definitely like a physical, material sort of experience rather than actual thought. It was more like through doing, because it is Earth here. And it's even though it's in the first house, or you know, but still, it's still connected to that. Um, Let me see if it's okay. Yeah, and so with okay, I think that's that. Uh,
And all of this is reflecting my youth, things that I've already experienced.
Starting first, like when you were a child, because right here, I, because of the chart that I'm now seeing compared to the last one, the second house and third house, even all the way to the fourth house, you didn't really have any issues, so to speak. I wasn't, remember when I told you that empty houses are not karmically, sort of speaking, yeah, karmically speaking, it wasn't something that you're dealing with in this lifetime. So
And
that's,
so the first house is like what age frame? That would be what, like,
probably between the time you're born to, let's say, I don't know, I would say till you were like before 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 adolescence, even before that, like 7, probably around that time. I can't really say what age. I don't have those. There's those specific
no.
things that I don't know yet about. Um,
But I mean, that is a way to see how it relates, right?
yeah.
Because I'm just thinking of a big major life shift that happened for me
Hmm.
around the age of 11, 12. And so I
Okay.
was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And remember,
Okay.
I was explaining that my first introduction or of really diving in, becoming interested
Yeah.
in charts and astrology was
Hmm.
the reflection of let's see what has happened and how what you're telling me, oh yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
That did
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm.
So that's interesting. Thank you.
No problem. Because the moment you start relating with your siblings or your worth is when you start to really fully identify as human beings. A second, third house sort of progress. The third house is relationship with your siblings, sibling energy, siblings or rivalry as well.
Hmm.
So most likely, yeah. So before teenhood, um, and then you got the fourth house is all about being more serious about your what where what your inner self. It's digging deep into like, oh, it's the fourth house is also the house of endings. So things don't just progress through this way like counterclockwise, but it kind of also goes back sometimes. Things come back because if the fourth house is the house of endings, meaning it's like literally after you die, then that means things come back. So it doesn't matter whether this is like there's a it's almost like the wheel keeps going. where the
Mhm.
wheels of the bus go round and round. So,
Like me.
hmm.
Sorry, trying to
No, that's
hover
okay.
out.
You had left off with I think because we were talking round and around, and you were saying what I think.
I don't recall.
Okay,
Sorry.
maybe next time we'll have to. Uh, remember I told you about this the Skype thing and the Facebook thing.
Okay.
Oh, there's
Yeah. Well, I mean, do
yeah.
you know how to record on Skype? I guess I could figure out downloading Skype on here.
No.
Does
It's
Skype?
okay. It's I know how to down. I just I record through my actual computer. Like so, whatever program I use doesn't matter. It's more about if on Skype because I sorry on Skype I can share the image, but you won't see me, or I think I
Okay.
won't see you either. And then on Facebook you see each other, but I think the file is kind of
Won't let you.
similar to Skype. This is why I like Zoom, except Zoom has the limitations with time. So
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I'm not sure which one. Some
You don't have to see my face. I think people would be, if they're listening to a podcast, or you could do it on YouTube as well as a podcast. People don't need to see the face if they're listening. I'm fine with them seeing the chart if you want.
okay,
Next
sure.
time, like if that's longer for us, we
Yeah,
could do
that's
that.
true. So and there's more flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And less editing, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's true.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. Facebook. Okay, we'll try Facebook. Um,
Facebook or Skype.
either one.
Just give me a heads up so I can download Skype.
Okay.
Facebook, I've never done, so it's a matter of figuring that out.
Well, because there's that messenger thing as well. Okay. Okay. Let's go for Skype. Yeah, let's go for
Okay.
Skype. But next time we're already here, so that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Okay, so I
Okay.
have nothing going on in houses 2, 3, and 4. I see the moon showing up in 5.
Yes. So the moon here.
So that puts us what, midlife, 30s?
Um. No, not even before that. 30s would probably be like
Wait, are you
your.
recording?
Yes, I'm. Ready.
You are.
Yeah. So 30s would be like seventh, eighth house.
Ooh, okay, we've got some time. All righty.
Yeah. So this fifth house would probably be like your teen years because this is the
Okay.
part where you start to rebel, and generally speaking, because it's five. It's the house of recreation, romantic experiences. So naturally, once you become a teen. So, but of course,
Oh,
this occurs throughout
that was
one's
a
life.
late bloomer to rebellion.
Well, let's take a look. So,
Yeah.
Moon in Virgo. Okay, naturally. Okay, so very that there's that analytical side. There's that sort of like pedantic side as well, to sensing emotions through physical, hands-on work, hands-on experiences, hands-on. Okay, this is how I'd like. So probably like you like relationships to be more well, at least the first encounter, at least with relationships like romantic ones specifically, or even work with children, is definitely more like hands-on for sure because Virgo is there. Um,
By hands-on, are you meaning like being present, being there?
Yeah, both that and hands-on, like kinesthetic. So
Okay,
it's
so
kind
very
of a
physical.
yes, absolutely. But it actually ties into your. I feel like there's something tying into the third house here because the moon rules Cancer, and Cancer is in the third house. Even though it's an empty house, I just want to add this in because I kind of learned this recently. This house is what you call intercepted, technically intercepted house, but it's actually an intercepted sign. An intercepted sign is when you see this line right here, the cusp of the third house is uh, in. It's kind of like it's locked in. It's not its own house. It's not taking its own responsibility for that house. It's Leo rules the fourth house here. Sorry, Cancer rules the fourth house here, but then here Cancer also rules the third. It looks like that, but an intercepted sign is basically when it's lodged in and it has no house of its own. I don't know if that makes sense. It's basically a. It means that any sort of communication had to be um, expression of communication, sibling rivalry, sibling relationship was kind of didn't want to be out and on stage, right? It was kind of like a hit. At least when you were that young, when you were like I don't know, yeah, preteens. It was kind of like there was a lot of probably hesitation. There was like I don't want to be seen. I don't want to express myself. I don't want to. Learning was kind of also there was a hesitation towards learning but because it's Cancer, it's like a feeling of that. It's like I feel like I don't know what's going on. Does that make sense? In general, I'm not saying I'm just general. I'm just saying in general. That's because there's no planet here. There's no actual thing going on, but in general, that's the general feel of your third house, like or rather,
And
in that
third house is
your
what
house.
exactly?
It's the house of communication, learning, adaptability, or capability to adapt to the environment, uh, adaptation itself to new information, logic, all that stuff. So that, in that regard, is kind of, and also what do you call this? The house of because it's not underrated, taken for granted skills. So with the Cancer there, it kind of jumps back into the fifth house. So when was there did you experience any sort of hesitation or like when you were younger, like at least when you were when you became a teen, um,
In
that
has it?
yeah,
Go ahead.
was there any hesitation? Was there any sort of limitations that you felt like you kind of pulled back and you didn't want to be seen?
As a teenager, um,
Hmm.
as a well, I went into high school at the age of 13.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, that's close to the 10 number here.
and I think that was kind of when I started coming into my own and probably first being seen because when I was in grade school, I was a heavier kid
Ah,
and
that explains the Cancer. Yeah, there you go. That's yeah, yeah.
yeah, lost a bunch of weight over one summer and came back like, that the ugly duckling thing.
Hmm. Yeah, there you go. So sometimes I don't know how to word things because I'm like, I get the feeling, I know what's there, and it's so much, but I'm like, I don't know how to. That's
Just
one of.
say what's coming through. Just say,
Yeah,
don't
that's true.
sugar.
Oh
Say
yeah,
what's coming.
yeah. Definitely like, because Cancer is a sign. It's water, right? So a lot of it is, it's about food as well, habits and food and emotions,
I would
right?
say that time was of an emotional time.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. So you felt kind of locked in, and you felt like I didn't know how to transition. And by the time you started getting older, then of course that kind of was okay. Right. So there
yeah,
you go.
that
That's
was
that general feel of it. But the moon definitely was. when again when a planet is in a house or in a sign, it's that's when it's activated, so to speak. It's actually that's what things are happening. Okay, so but because it was square, oh, your moon is square to your sun. Oh, okay. Personal identity, questioning challenges with expressing a deeper sense of emotions and senses and instinct and drive to how you relate with anyone in general, specifically any, again, that contracting seventh house. So,
Wait a second.
I'm sorry.
You said I question challenges deeply,
Oh no, no, there's like that questioning, and there was because there was a lot of challenges. It's like, where's how do what do I what am I happy about? What am I like feeling about this? How am I expressing my joy? How do I because the sun is your like I said is your spirit, right? The sun is like more like your objective side. It wants to just explore. It wants to create. It wants to be happy. It wants to be childlike. With it squaring the sun, I mean, sorry, when it squares the moon, it's it's a challenge towards like what you want versus what you need. There was a questioning of that. There was like, ah, I want to be analytical. I want to do all those things, but the sun says, oh well, risk taking makes me happy. Like the moon goes, like, let's go technical. Let's get the information first, and let's get that. Let's see where the facts are. So in this case, the fifth and the seventh house are linked because of that aspect. At the
and
same,
see,
Mhm.
that's interesting that you described that because me not knowing what you know, I would have interpreted that backwards for the because of the sun being masculine and and the moon being feminine.
Some yeah, to a certain degree, yeah, yeah. It's
So
kind
I
of
would
yeah.
have,
Mhm.
yeah, I would have flip-flopped that.
Yeah, well, the sun is your, it's the it's it's the male principle. It's called the male principle. The but technically it's not. It's both the sun and Saturn, but Saturn is
But
more authority figures,
okay.
right? So authority figures, limitations, but with the sun,
And I have
it's
Saturn in here with my sun.
there's no aspect from Saturn to your sun. No.
Okay, yeah, because
Mhm.
we're just talking about the moon and the sun right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So and then, but at the same time, here's the thing: your moon was also square to Mercury. So here, now we understand Mercury. Ah, okay. That's why I think there was something, I was sensing there was something messy with the interpretation. The way I was reading you physically, I was like, I'm not sure I'm getting this right. So I got the dates wrong. It's like by 9 years. That's a big difference. So so let's do this. So
Yeah,
Mercury.
I was on a high after last time. Now I don't know what I'm gonna walk away with. I don't
Okay,
know.
well we'll see. So Mercury in Sagittarius is actually also in its fall. So the expression of Mercury is less at home. It feels kind of pulled down. There's a sort of like it's not as logical. It's more like Sagittarian. So it's like if you want to swear the fuck off, like that's what you do. Like Sagittarius is very like that, right? It's very you know. Um, Again, because it's a default doesn't make it less effective. It's just the communication way and the way it's dressing up in Sagittarius is quite different. So, but with
So,
that, uh
meaning I um have less logical communication.
I would say yes, logical, meaning that it's not that it's less logical, it's expressed differently.
Okay,
Mhm.
so what we're reading, and is this just me overall that when I express my logic, it's difficult for other people to understand,
It's also technically self-expression, Mercury, but because
but people
Mercury,
have
yeah,
difficulty understanding it.
possibly yes, because it's also in the eighth house. You had to transform through that process of like, okay, I don't know how to express this. So you had to learn deeply from that and say, people don't like the way I communicate, or I don't like, it feels aggressive, or it feels like too optimistic. It's just, you just say whatever you want. Exaggerative as well. Probably when you were, I don't know, younger. I don't know. So I don't know. But it's not complete without the link to your moon. When in this case, your expression of your emotions become kind of, in a way, not volatile, but it can be because of Sagittarius there. So exaggerative, possibly also explosive. It just keeps. It's a very optimistic sign, right? But the dark side of optimism is pessimism. Right? It's a shadow of that. So possibly because of the transformative aspects, transformative process of Sagittarius, your Mercury, the way you express not only yourself but the way you communicate was also, um, there was manipulation in a certain way because Sagittarius carries over also the energy of Scorpio before it, and also because your Mercury was in the eighth house, so you have Scorpio feel to that. And Scorpio is a heavier sign; it's a fixed sign versus Sagittarius. Sagittarius is mutable, so technically you might sometimes be half Scorpio the way you communicate, and half 50% Scorpio, 50% Sagittarius. That's what I would. I'm just exaggerating when it comes to that. It's just, but that's kind of what it would feel like because you Scorpio is a very, it's a fixed sign. It's stubborn. So so but with again
I'm
these
either muted or I'm stuck in my ways. I'm either flexible or I'm stuck in my ways, depending
it
on what it
can,
is.
depending on what it is, but that's where you're still transforming, or that's where you were transforming, and we all still transform. That's why this is why I wanted to do also I wanted to add the progression chart, progression chart. So,
Mhm.
but again, but the thing about this one is that we have the moon in Virgo, and moon in Virgo, it signifies that it's also affected by your Sagittarius. So exaggerated emotions as well, because the Sagittarian colors your moon through Mercury. Mercury rules your moon here. So how you express yourself, at least when you were a teenager, was just like, it just kind of blew up, but at the same time, you kind of added facts to it. Like, this is what I feel. Da, 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 da. This is what I feel. So there was like sort of, in a way, pedanticalness meets optimism, if that makes sense. So, and because you have two planets technically sort of pulling at, sorry, that's not supposed to be that. You see that? There's that two planets pulling at your moon. What that does is that signifies is the moon is going, the emotions are, and the instinct that you feel were very much, I guess, kind of saying, let's go this way. This is what I feel. This is my instinct. This is what I feel is right. And because you feel what is right, meaning because of Virgo, you kind of, in a way, you kind of maybe pushed what's you thought was technically right, informationally right, um, about your emotions. This is what I feel. This is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to express, right? Versus like what makes you shine. Your emotions kind of took over, and you kind of, in a way, sort of probably at times forgot what made you shine, and the emotions kind of just took over. Instincts became, especially at that age, especially when you were a teenage. That's normal, that's as well, right? So yeah, um, and then when your sun took over, because you have like Neptune there, you're able to sense things that are very much what is above and beyond, transcendent, what made you happy. Eventually, when your moon kind of calmed down, when you were able to bridge that challenge, or it's not sure, bridge that sort of conflicting sort of, what you want from what you need versus how you want to express yourself, your sun started taking over a little bit more, I would say. It could have. I'm not saying it did. I'm just saying it could have, because you have. the sun is a strong. It can be a stronger pull, especially because it's in your latter years, right here. The sun starts to go. Oh, okay. Well, what is making me truly happy, right? And the sun was also in the third decan. This is the one I didn't mention last time. The third decan means that when the sign. Okay, so when the sun is in a certain sign, we look at its decan, 10 degrees. So every 10 degrees, it's 10, 10, 10. So that means that Scorpio naturally has Pluto in the first 10 degrees. So when the sun, this is pertaining to the sun, and I believe this applies to the other planets, but I usually just stick with the sun because the sun is identity, yourself,
Hmm.
it's what you know. So, but because your sun was in 29, you look at the decans go with first, you go with the clockwise movement of the chart. So first you have Pluto, which is now the natural ruler, of Scorpio. After that would come Neptune, then later the moon. So there, so your moon dictates your sun. It's instinct. So nurture, um, spiritual food, natural, like physical food. It's something to anything to do with not really nurture. Remember, I explained to you series before. Series is more about the nurture, the parent-child thing, but it's not that. It's the moon is your instinct. It's your ancestry, DNA, what you carry over from generations. It's your technically, yeah, your soul, so to speak. Not your whole soul, but yeah, it's what your soul needs and wants. Most likely, basic needs as well. So sorry, the language is kind of going here and there. So, but basically, yeah. So the sun is affected by the moon here because of that, because of this
Because
deacon
of it
right
being in
here.
the last deacon.
Yeah, that's right. So and
And that
yeah.
what does that mean? How does that
So
translate? So
so your what makes you basically happy or gives you vitality is having a deeper connection with people, like
okay.
because it's in Scorpio, it's also intense. It has to be that. Yeah.
So this is when that began. That's not
That's
like, oh,
specific. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that it began. It's yeah. You become. Remember, just like when we discover new planets or asteroids or whatever heavenly bodies, it's the same thing with our lives. When we discover what our our path is, the more we become more aware of that as we get older. So naturally, you became more aware of this part of yourself. So you became happier with a more spiritual side to yourself. You became more like, oh, what's beyond this relationship? Third house, I mean, seventh house stuff, sorry. So Neptune started playing a role in your life there and going, oh, okay. So Neptune also, because it's in conjunction to the sun, you know how to work with this energy. And also, there was also a change, the change in, um, I guess you can say, not attitude, but change in perception of yourself. Because it's 29 degrees, it's that 29 degrees because it's so close to the cusp of the here we go again because it's so close to the cusp of uh, what happened there because it's so close to the cusp of the of Sagittarius right here, or rather yeah, cusp of Sagittarius. It means that there is a transition. Sorry, auto saved. I didn't do anything. You just did that. So yeah, so that means there is a transition towards more of a spiritual self, a highly more, yeah, you can say evolved, more spiritual self, more transcendent, more, you knew exactly what made you happy in that regard. At least when I say in that regard, I mean like relationships, contracts, commitments, open enemies. You kind of had this sort of inkling, this side to you that was just like, oh, I don't know, okay, maybe I should trust this person. Oh, wait, nope, nope. You started to feel like, um, yeah, I guess you probably knew who were the vampires and not the vampires, or like like I'm talking about like psychically speaking, because it is Scorpio. Does that make sense?
A little bit. I think I'm thinking back, trying to figure out the connection.
Yeah. Well, that is definitely your Virgo talking right now. Your moon is going.
Well, I mean,
It's very grounded. It's okay. It's okay.
what I'm trying to figure out is this is not necessarily stages of life, but just cycles, meaning like things of that I'm learning and
Absolutely.
going through.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because we're saying, my youth, my teenage, and I'm like,
Hmm.
some of this seems like it can also be, well, obviously cyclical, that it keeps reoccurring, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you don't get it, it keeps this, oh, this sounds familiar. Okay, okay.
That's right. Yeah. And because we did like we did before, we have Pluto rules Scorpio. So Pluto rules your sun, right? But with Sagittarian, with Neptune in Sagittarius there, so you have Jupiter and Pluto combining in that regard. It's adding flavor to your Neptunian personality, your Neptunian identity, so to speak. So where is Jupiter here? Oh, sorry, Neptune and Jupiter actually.
Wait, Neptune and Jupiter are both where?
Oh, sorry,
I
no, no,
thought
no,
you said,
sorry, sorry. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so it makes it rules your Neptune. So it kind of basically Pisces. It's almost like you have this almost like this Piscean Scorpio Libra sort of identity. It's like, oh, relationships are important, but they have to be intense, but they also have to be highly spiritual and optimistic. And that gives you
yes.
vitality, right? So there you go.
Could you define it for me again? Because that just
Oh, sorry.
explained.
So with the Sun in Scorpio, you got Pluto ruling your Sun, and with Neptune in Sagittarius right there, Jupiter rules your Neptune. Remember, we have to look at the planet that rules that sign that the planet was in. We have to look at astrology as like a whole thing rather than just individual planets. And
Mhm.
yeah, not just because of the aspect, but because it's like where it's linked. Um, and
Isn't
so
it funny? Like relationships need to be spiritual, logical, and
yeah, relationship needs to
connected.
be definitely like first and foremost is definitely the Scorpio's thing there still. Emotionally intense, emotionally transcendent, deep, but also spiritually transcendent and spiritually somewhat deep, transcendent and optimistic with harmony as well because you have the seventh house as well. Colors that Libra colors your Sun, your Neptune, and the other planets right here, Jupiter as well. So, yeah.
So everybody's on board for that type of a
Pretty
relationship.
much, yeah. Technically, do you have a
Well,
stellium here? Yeah, you do have a stellium here. Yeah,
oddly enough, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and it's coming. It's
yeah.
coming.
There you go. I can't wait to see your progress chart. I haven't looked at it yet. I only saw the transit chart, and I'm like, okay.
Oh,
um,
that sounds scary.
sorry.
Your face, like,
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
that's
I'm excited. I'm excited. I get
okay.
excited about these things. There's other things that I wanted to kind of add here, but I feel like I don't have it like a good grasp of it yet. But apparently, like when you have a planet in a sign and you look at the ruling planet of that sign, you also have to look at what house that sign generally rules and what that planet generally rules as well. So it extends over to other houses. So with Scorpio here, that's not a that's not it's right here. It's the eighth house, right? So it's almost like because of that intense nature of Scorpio to be real
Um,
and genuine. Yeah,
but it looks like the eighth house has, you're saying Scorpio or
yeah.
Sagittarius?
It rules eighth house. Scorpio rules
Well,
the eighth house.
Scorpio rules the eighth house. Got
Yes,
it. Okay.
so that means it extends over to any sort of transformative sort of thing. So your relationships also kind of are expressed through you have this you fancy also like taboo things and occult and hidden things and anything that kind of stuff. So it's the way it's expressed is the way it's almost like I have this like outhouse and that's where I also express it, right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Outhouse
Your
or bathhouse. If you want to do bathhouse, totally fine.
your room, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And because Sagittarius rules the ninth house, it also extends over to travel, long-term travel, foreign relationships, foreign anything, big business, also with FTP. Um, So your that's in particular your Mercury, the expression of your transformative self, that all that stuff that I said earlier with your moon, it's also comes into play with this what you're doing right now with us. Like you do that. This explains why you're like, oh, um, you think about it and you process it with your emotions. I mean, your habits to be analytical, your habits of being analytical, of being, yes, pedantic, and yes, very technical and scientific, fact based. Um, Definitely like extends over to big businesses. Any sort of venture that you have into, any ventures you take towards optimism and growth and higher education, like higher learning. You're super conscious. This is the ninth house is called the super conscious. So more than just learning, more than just in knowledge, it's higher than that. So also visions, right? We talked about that before. It's your visions, your hopes, your dreams, aspirations. These are all this ninth house stuff.
And
Yeah.
that is ruled by
Yes,
Sagittarius
that's
or
right. It's ruled by Sagittarius. Yeah. Yeah. Co-ruled technically right now because you have Capricorn. It adds a bit of flavor to your ninth house. So there's a bit more discipline. This is why you're in FTP. You feel like there's this sort of process that you have to go through where you have to work at it. So, but it doesn't do as much. Like it's just, I'm just saying, because Capricorn is on the cusp of your ninth house, it means that the overall feeling of your journey, this your ninth house journey, all that stuff, is affected also by Capricorn, which is like discipline, hard work, reputation as well. So there's a bit of concern with reputation, probably, right? Probably a little bit. Possible, not really ego, but more like fears as well, like limitations. Again, because it's ruled by Saturn. So you see how everything comes together, right? It's not just like this. It's literally more than that. So everything connects. Everything literally connects. So, okay. Um, we're not going to probably get into. Did you want to go through your North Node again this time? I realized I made a mistake because I misread your chart. Your North Node is not Virgo. Your North Node is Pisces. So your analytical nature has to. Let's hold on. That has to, forget I said has to. 28 degrees North Node. So that means that, oh, your South Node was conjunct Pluto. Okay. So your South Node being your more natural skills be to look at things from an analytical but also technical and sort of like practical point of view. Like it's more grounded. Um, Pluto pulls that down by making it real and seeing what needs to change here. Remember, Pluto is the planet of it's a planet of regeneration. It's a planet of deeper inner core instinctive transformation. It's deeper than Uranus. It's deeper than what's deeper. Neptune is up there. Pluto is down here. Right? Neptune is there. Pluto is down here. So, um, with that conjunct your South Node, it's a lot of had to change with regards to like your past. So you probably had not only power struggles, but like was there toxic, maybe toxic relationships or toxic um, anything to do with health in your past lives? Maybe in your when you were also younger, possibly, but definitely your past lives, something to do with uh, heavy losses, like even yes, even death, but like the sort of like plutonian sort of like, oh fucking hell, like what the hell is going on here? It's just like it's
are you
lots of
saying
poison,
past
toxins, viruses, bacteria, anything to
past
do with
literal past lives or past current life?
either ones, anything to do with the past, because that's the
Um,
south node.
And so that's things that I'm working through and what is
To balance
okay.
that with the North Node and being more trusting here, to being more trusting, to being more, yeah, letting go, to being not letting go per se, like forget it, but letting go as in like trusting, having faith. Uh,
Oh, I thought it was analytical.
that was your South Node. That's your South Node. You're used to that.
Okay.
Yeah, your
Okay.
south
And
node is like, yeah, your natural skills, your ability to. So when you have north node in Pisces, it's this ability to. Sorry, you're on your way to this discovering your the new gifts you should have and obtain, so that, well, not obtain, but you know what I mean. Like, it's something where you need to let go of like knowing. In this case, it's like I need to know this, but now it's like, nope, your north node, because your north node is, remember, the nodes is like the
is where
dragon.
you're headed,
Hmm.
but you're saying it's in Pisces, and that means what?
Well, it has to be connected with the south node, so you can't separate the two. So
Right.
with north,
No, well,
yeah,
North Node is in Pisces.
yeah,
South Node is in, is that what you're saying? It's
yeah.
in Pisces?
Hmm.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. Because South Node is in Pluto, you said.
That's right.
Okay.
In
Okay.
fact, you have north node in Pisces,
And
conjunct. Oh my goodness, conjunct Pholus and conjunct Pholus and what is it? Pallas Athena. So with with those two things together, it's complete trust in wisdom from the eternal, and making sure that you know how to balance when to time that so that it's not exaggerative, so it's not out of place, so it's not, what do you call this, so that it's, you know how to work with, what do you call that oh, you start to be, what you're here to learn is to trust that, but also to learn when to open that Pandora's box. Cause and effect. The Pholus is cause and effect. Pholus was a centaur, and centaurs represent in astrology, generally speaking, transitions, just like Chiron. So Pholus here represents, well, not just here, but in general, Pholus represents what the choices we need to make, and so that they're not one way or the other, so that they're more balanced, so that it's not, we know what we've done, we know what we should be aware of in the future. It creates awareness because it's like, ah, I'm. It's not just literal transitions. It's actually like, does that make sense? I don't know if I'm wording this right for you. Like,
well, what I gathered from what you said is that when your North Node is with Pisces, conjunct Athena and Phallus,
mm,
it's talking about learning to trust the wisdom from the eternal,
yeah,
learn when to open the door, black
yeah,
when for balance and learning to make balanced choices that need to
yeah.
be made.
So you're aware of the cause and effect. You're aware that when you make this choice, it's not, you're not really technically creating karma, because if you create karma, that's a very earthly thing. It's 3D. When you let go of it and you trust the universe, inner wisdom. That's Pallas Athena right there, right? And also balancing things. Pallas Athena was also about balancing and making us realize that everything is connected. It's inner wisdom, basically, to, in two words. Yeah. So inner wisdom of balance. So you're still learning to do that, particularly with the 11th house, which is your the general public, the love that you receive. So here you're learning to trust that. But what you're more comfortable with, usually what you kind of lean back on, or what you tend to go back to, is your south node, 28 degrees, conjunct Pluto, which is like processing, transformation, because you know how to do that naturally. You know how to go like, okay, you know how to do the inner work, but it's still kind of more, because Pluto was in Libra. You kind of want that sort of peace and quiet. You want that sort of transformational process to be like, oh, it has to be balanced, but sometimes it's not, and that's where you have to trust that the universe will balance it for you instead, rather than you yourself, meaning your human self, your form self, balancing it for you, or balancing it, period. So it's trusting. So again,
Universe.
yeah, and then ties into Neptune back here. Neptune rules those three. Your north node. So Neptune and also Jupiter, actually, which is this is funny because they're all in the seventh house. So this ties back into your relationship with the greater community in the world. Those are how they're expressed. Those are what areas of your life they are expressed, or the areas of your life how, how you learn them, how you evolve to. Yeah, yeah,
To evolve to greater communities of the world.
yeah. Seventh house with your 11th house. Oh, I did it again. Saved it without me doing anything.